Welcome to another Sporvado Sports. It's Evan, aka Big F, but sadly it's another solo podcast because I'm in Florida, the beautiful sunshine state of Florida. But most of I'm sure when I get back Friday, I'll sure get a pod with Lino, Bronson, and Tyler as we'll get the podcast back going on. But Happy New Year's Eve, beautiful day for me. It was nice weather. But today I'm gonna like to talk about the recent coaching fires in the NFL. As this is the time of the year when the season's over, Week 17 is over, the NFL season, regular season is over, so now it's playoff time. It's when all the teams that do not like the coaches fire them all in one day, which is always really funny, just nonstop. But and also, I would like to talk about the playoff race as it's pretty interesting. Being an Eagles fan, we barely made it yesterday as the Vikings lost against the Bears 24-10, and the Eagles won 24-0. That was a great win for me as we got the last spot in the playoff for the NFC. And also for the AFC, Ravens clinching the last spot too. Really happy for Lamar Jackson because I feel like he deserves more. Great quarterback. Obviously, I'm a little nervous for him because he is risking his body. All running quarterbacks in the NFL have a more potential risk of getting hurt, and especially for him, he's a very undersized quarterback. Well, height-wise, he's fine, but he's very low in weight, really skinny. But that can, he just got to manage his, body well and see how he does there. But the Ravens, their defense is pretty solid, so that's pretty exciting there. But yeah, so, and then also we're going to talk about the college football, recent playoffs because we just had the championship game is now going to be Clemson and Alabama. That was kind of expecting, so I'm not really excited about that, but, I'm probably not going to watch it. Obviously, I want Clemson to win because majority of people do not like Alabama. Sorry, Alabama fans. We're just kind of tired of it. Nick Saban's a great coach, full respect to Nick Saban, because he started out with the Crimson Tide with a really bad record, and he brought that team out from under him, and now they're a dominant force every year, and they get the top recruits every year. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, but obviously a little tired of it. But so going into that topic, it's just a complete blowout. I watched the Notre Dame Clemson game and both of them. Yeah, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Oklahoma and Alabama. Not exciting. It's not exciting at all. I just think this is really bad for the sport of college football. As it's just like most fans want something exciting, and I don't know what's happening. It's just the level of talent on both sides are not equal anymore. Notre Dame coming into it, I did not expect them to do good anyways because they didn't really have a good schedule at all. So because they almost lost USC, being a Duck fan, because Ducks play today against Michigan State, so I'm really excited about that. My Duck jersey on, Justin Herbert jersey, but knowing a lot of the Pac-12 conference, they almost lost to USC, and USC is a mess right now. I do not like Clay Helton as the head coach at USC. He's not as a great coach that you want at USC because it's in LA. That's the team, City of Angels. You want the flashy type coaches. I do like the Cliff Kingsbury hire for offensive coordinator, which is a great move for them because he's a young, talented coach. So I feel like it will bring a lot of, pizzazz and like to that roster and see how they do next year because Pac-12 is just we say they're the conference of champions, but they're completely embarrassment right now. But the Ducks did get Kayvon Thibodeau, so hopefully we'll change that next season with Herbert coming back. But going back to it, to the playoff scenario, yeah, Notre Dame I just not think they were good enough, and it just showed off. Even though they were undefeated, I just did not think the strength of schedule coming in wasn't good enough, and I thought Georgia should have been in it because I know they I was really hated because when they beat USC, I was like, okay, they're gonna put them in the playoff. So it made sense that they put them in the playoff because they went undefeated. So I guess I kind of see that. So like even if they didn't put them in the playoff, they're like people would be like, why we're not in the Notre Dame fans would just be shocked like, hey, we're undefeated. What's wrong? But at the same time, you look at UCF, they are not even in it either, and they're undefeated. Full support to UCF. I have some friends that go to UCF. Obviously, they don't play a strong schedule. That's why people don't really put them in the playoff. But I feel like they should deserve some consideration. I feel like, I think they do. They do play today against LSU, which will be a good contest for them. Another chance to prove themselves to the world that they are a force to be reckoned with. But yeah, going back to yes, Notre Dame. So like comparing them, Notre Dame didn't really have a strong schedule, and then also you look at it, Ohio State, they lost to Purdue. So looking at the point of view from the committee standpoint, the college football committee, I guess it can be a hard decision. But for me, the most safest decision I would have done is just put Georgia in, even though they lost. They're not undefeated. Because I felt like they were, SEC conference is so much filled with talent and strength. Most of the top recruits are in the southeastern United States and Southwest and Southern California. So they get all the top recruits, like IMG Academy, St. Thomas Aquinas in Florida, all the top like academies and football programs in the high school level in Florida is just massive. Being from Tampa, you can tell the talent difference is crazy. And but yeah, so having Georgia in the playoff would have helped a lot. I felt like because they at least contended against Alabama pretty well. Would have. And then going to the Alabama and Oklahoma game, obviously right off the bat, it was completely awful. Alabama jumping to that 21-0 lead. This is really boring in the first quarter. Like I was about to give up. Me and my dad were just laughing at what was happening. It's just not even fun because Alabama was just too good. It was too good. And Oklahoma, they're in the Big 12. The Big 12 is pretty much a conference. Everyone knows it's a high-scoring conference. There's no defense at all. So pretty much that's just the way what happened. That's pretty much what happened. It's just obviously they did come back. Oklahoma did show some signs of fight back. With Kyler Murray. It just it's pretty much it just sucks. It really does suck. I wanted Oklahoma to win. Obviously, we do not like Alabama. Sorry again to Alabama fans, but it's just boring. I want some like new change. I always go for the underdog. But yeah, so pretty much that was not really an exciting game. And I was really disappointed with people saying that Kyler Murray should have not won the Heisman. Like, oh, he should have given it to Tua. But to me, Alabama is filled with NFL talent, and Tua is just sitting back there in the pocket. That's all he has to do, because most majority of those guys are just NFL talent. And he's looking back at Alabama teams, quarterbacks that went to the NFL, like A.J. McCarron or Greg McElroy. Look at those guys. There's nothing. Zero. They're doing terrible. I saw A.J. McCarron did show some glimpses of being pretty solid on the Bengals and the Bills, but it's not exciting. Like something that was just not. They were so used to that, having so much time in the pocket because it was college level and they had these big NFL talent players. And then now going to the NFL, they just completely suck. It was just completely awful. So pretty much it was just a complete embarrassment and just the sport of college football because they just get the top recruits every year. And I'm not blaming, obviously, yeah, it sounds I'm going against Alabama. Obviously, I'm not a huge Alabama fan, but props to Nick Saban, though, because he raised that program out of the ground. So they did a really good job, really, really good job. So I'm not trying to throw them on the bus. It's just that's what's happening at the moment in college football. I would like to see something a little different. Obviously, there's talks of the 18 playoff, which is pretty interesting to me. Or no, it's 16. Yeah, 16 playoff. That's what. Well, either or, just a larger playoff um, is always fascinates me. Obviously, we're getting more into that college basketball style of play because it's never really had because we had the BCS for so many years. That's why it's so weird having a tournament, playoff bracket in college football. But I never really thought of well, I did have some thoughts of having a bigger bracket, bigger playoff, college football playoff. Be pretty interesting to see because UCF would have been, if they had a larger playoff, they would have been in the playoff. So it would have been great to see UCF at least to play against big talent, see if they actually go all the way, which would be pretty exciting. Because I feel like just a 14 playoff is just like, you don't know yet. There's still teams I felt like, Georgia could have, if they had a larger playoff, Georgia would have been in the playoff, and with Oklahoma and with Notre Dame. And that would have, balanced things out, I thought would have been pretty nice. But yeah, so honestly, we'll see what happens next year because they did start talking about a larger playoff. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm hope for the best and for college football. Obviously, I think Clemson and Alabama will be a good game, not denying it, because both teams are super talented. They both outright outplayed the Oklahoma and Notre Dame. So Clemson and Alabama will be a good game. It's just not a game that I would watch because it's been kind of like a repeat over the years. But not to downplay those teams. They're both great, phenomenal teams. But yeah, so. Next topic I will like to talk about, just a second, the NFL playoffs. So pretty much, I already talked about the Eagles, me being an Eagles fan, getting in just a sliver, and the Ravens too as well. So as here, the buys as well for NFC and AFC, we got on the AFC side we got Kansas City and the Patriots. And then on the NFC side, we got the Saints and we got the Rams. And as well on the NFC side, starting off, it was the Cowboys against the Seahawks. And then you have the Eagles and the Bears. And then on the AFC side, you got the Chargers, Ravens. And then you got the Colts and the Texans. So looking at it, all teams I see in the playoffs so far are all solid teams that do deserve to be there. Each team has a great, solid quarterback. Obviously, I'm really happy for the Colts. Andrew Luck coming back. It's kind of like a final push this season. Obviously, they beat the Titans last night, but that was to be expected because Mario wasn't even playing. They had Blaine Gabbert in, even though the Titans was it's pretty solid Titans defense. They didn't have their quarterback, and that kills you in the NFL if you don't have your quarterback. So that's why the Eagles are lucky with Nick Foles because he's pretty much a starting quarterback and he's Super Bowl MVP and he's doing a phenomenal job with the Eagles right now, just doing what he did, picking up from last year, picking up from Carson Wentz injury problems that have been encompassing every year. What I'm seeing in my predictions. Honestly, I do not know. Most teams, like the Saints, the Rams, they had some struggles later in the season. Not to downplay them. They're phenomenal teams. Drew Brees, Jared Goff. Obviously, the Rams mostly play off of Todd Gurley. Because I had Jared Goff on my fantasy team, and obviously he doesn't get as much points because everyone feeds off of Todd Gurley. He's a phenomenal running back. And as well as the Rams O-line, they get full credit. Obviously, I feel like O-lines don't get much credit in the NFL or in the sport of football. Because it's always, the running back, the quarterback. Those are the people, everyone focuses on. That's more exciting positions rather than someone who just pushes someone the O-line. But on the side, I think a sleeper team would be the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, some people do not like how their defense is not as strong. I feel like their offense can overcarry that, so I don't think they'll have any issues with that. And plus, Arrowhead is a tough place to play in. So I don't think that they're a very sleeper team, and they got the first round bye and home as the number 1 seed. So I think they are a sleeper team for me on the AFC side. On the NFC side, I say the Bears or the Seahawks. I don't think the Saints and the Rams will have, um, even though they're the top seeds and they have the byes. I think the NFC is more balanced. So right now, looking at it, yeah, because Russell Wilson, even though they haven't had their unbelievable best season, they just slowly got into the playoffs, just like the Eagles did. Russell Wilson had one of the best seasons he had in his NFL career with a really high QBR. His highest QBR ever, which is a shock that can be to a shock to some people, because it's always pretty interesting knowing that. But it was pretty much the Seahawks were a sleeper team as well. But it's good for the Seahawks. They did deserve it. Russell Wilson's a phenomenal quarterback. So that's a team to watch. So I feel like the Seahawks will take the Cowboys. That's obviously, I'm an Eagles fan, and I would definitely say that. But I don't think the Cowboys will be able to match up to the Seahawks. Even though the Seahawks will be playing in AT&T Stadium in Dallas or Arlington, Texas. But I feel like they will be overmatched, and Dallas having solid O-line, Zeke, Elliott, and Dak Prescott, and the addition of Amari Cooper was phenomenal. But I feel like they'll get taken out by a more experienced quarterback with Russell Wilson. Obviously, the matchup between the Eagles and the Bears. Obviously, I would like the Eagles to win, but obviously, the Bears are a much more well-rounded team. Even the Eagles, that they have some components, pretty balanced components everywhere. We have Mike Wallace coming back, which is really, really nice. But I don't think we'll be able to win that game because the Bears are just. Matt Haggis is doing a phenomenal job with the Bears this season. So I don't think there's any issue with that, and they're just going to keep rolling on that train and beat us out. Because Mitchell Trubisky's phenomenal, Tyreek Cohen, Jordan Howard, Allen Robinson and Trey Burton. That's really stacked offensive line, and offense. But they have a good offensive line too, but just a really stacked offense, and then as well as their defense with Khalil Mack, the addition of Khalil Mack, and the safety Eddie Jackson's having a phenomenal year. And Danny Trevathan, I love Danny Trevathan. He's always a great linebacker, outside linebacker. But overall, I think the Bears will be another sleeper team, another team to look out for. So I feel like once the Saints and the Rams get to play in the playoffs, I feel like even though they're obviously going to be the favorites, a safe pick. They are going to definitely be in trouble because the NFC, I feel like the talent is more balanced now because most of the teams started picking up at the end of the season. The Cowboys, Seahawks, Eagles, So it'll be really exciting to see when those matchups contend. On the AFC side, looking at it, obviously the Ravens and Chargers. I saw the Chargers start slipping up, even though they have a nice win in Arrowhead Stadium with Philip Rivers. They have a really experienced quarterback. I don't see them winning, honestly. They will be in Baltimore against the Ravens. Their defense is really strong. Even though Philip Rivers is an experienced quarterback, he does tend to throw interceptions. So I feel like the Ravens might pull that one out. And Lamar Jackson being a dual-threat quarterback is dangerous and he's having so much success right now in the read option style play. And the offensive coordinator for the Ravens is doing a phenomenal job because in the early season they started with Joe Flacco and they did a more pro-style offense and they just switched quarterbacks and now they're in a spread option type offense, which is a phenomenal job. The way they've been able to change their whole playbook and use the same players, which is a great job. More props to the Ravens. The Colts and the Texans matchup. I am thinking the Texans will pull this out in an easy win. Even though Andrew Luck's having a great end of the year, the Texans are a really well-rounded team, and Deshaun Watson is on fire, and his target DeAndre Hopkins, and then KK Kute, who's a great riser in the season. No one really knew him, but he picked it up when Will Fuller went down with the injury, so he's another great option for the Texans. And as well the defense, J.J. Watt, experienced Jadeveon Clowney. The team is stacked. So I feel like they'll have no problem taking out the Colts. going for the 1 and 2 seed Chiefs. I already talked about them, but they're a really solid team. Patrick Mahomes is having a phenomenal year, and it's the fact that they get to play at home is a great benefit. The Patriots, I'm really interested in though, because you did see some little issues with Tom Brady. Because he kind of started seeing his age started playing a factor because he did a phenomenal job playing these last few seasons. He didn't even look like he was, in his late 30s, early 40s, keeping his body in shape. But finally, I saw this year that his first hiccups of him actually showing his age, which is obviously he can't. Even though we all love Tom Brady's everyone's kind of like the Alabama. Everyone's tired of the Patriots winning, which was nice for the Eagles to beat them last year, which is really awesome. But Tom Brady's a well-respected quarterback. I feel like he's a really good quarterback. He just struggles. He's starting to struggle now, which is really interesting. Even though the Patriots, I still have a really solid team. They still have McDaniels as their offensive coordinator. Having their numerous weapons. I call like their team like a Swiss Army knife on offense because, having Sony Michel, their addition from Georgia, a rookie out of Georgia, he's a great great solid, just pound for pound running back. And then also you got James White, great receiving back. So they have a really diversified offense with Gronkowski and Edelman. Even though those guys kind of like dipped a bit in production this year, I feel like those guys are still really solid options for the Patriots. So you can't count them out either. So we'll see what happens there, but that's another team to look on because I feel like Tom Brady will start seeing more of glimpses of him showing age. So we'll see what happens there. But my safe pick to stay in the Super Bowl will probably be the Chiefs. I'll probably think the Chiefs and Bears is my best option. Chiefs, Bears, or Chiefs, Seahawks. I feel like Chiefs will go all the way because they have because the Chiefs will play the winner of the Chargers and the Ravens, so that's a pretty easy matchup. And then they'll go on to either play the Texans or I think the Texans will beat the Colts, so the Texans with the Patriots. So either way, I feel like the Chiefs will win. Andy Reid's doing a phenomenal job. He's great with quarterbacks. He's been in this situation before with coaching Donovan McNabb when he was with the Eagles. Obviously, he got no Super Bowl wins with McNabb, but he did a phenomenal job with quarterbacks. So Andy Reid's always been did a great job with quarterbacks, and being able to succeed with this season after the loss of Kareem Hunt, after what he did. Kareem Hunt is a total idiot. That guy, never beat up women. It's really ignorant, and what he did was awful. But the fact that Andy Reid was able to continue his offense with the loss of Kareem Hunt, it was phenomenal. Really phenomenal job what he did there, and he was able to still produce. Even though they still have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, they still need a run game, and they did a phenomenal job keeping that going, and they kept going for pound. So that was the end of the podcast. We are rounding up around 23 minutes and about 25 seconds. That will be it. My next podcast episode will be in Oregon. I'll be back pretty much maybe this next weekend. So starting up the school year again for winter term at University of Oregon. But today I'll be spending my New Year's Eve with friends, and also I'll be watching the Duck game in the Red Box Bowl against Michigan State. Will be pretty exciting. But yeah, I'll get another episode soon. Obviously, I'll try to enjoy the last bits of weather in Florida before I head back to Oregon. But this will be the end of my podcast, and hope you guys have a great New Year's Eve and a great New Year.